Thinking about a lightweight, micro-compact pocket pistol for concealed carry, are you? Well, stick around, because I have one to show you. One that I consider the pick of the litter, the top of the crop, the creme de la creme, the best of the best, the winner among winners, the leader of the pack, the head of the gang. The Smith Wesson Bodyguard 2.0. Much has been said about it in both written and video form, including myself in earlier presentations. Hey, it's the Range Ronin, back with a new presentation regarding the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0, but with more experience with carrying, shooting, and some changes that I made to make it personal. So, stick with me a bit, and I will tell you all about it. The Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0 has been a somewhat constant companion over the course of the time that I first reviewed the pistol. But before I get into the specifics, let me first run through the basic specifications, just in case you are not familiar with them. Although 10-round and 12-round magazines ship with the pistol, two states that allow more than 10 rounds, I have added two 10-round magazines to the carry loadout. Why 10-round magazines instead of the 12-rounders, you might ask? It is simply because I trust the 10-round magazines, and they are easy to conceal. I also carry the 2.0 with a 10-round magazine installed, as I am not addicted to carrying more ammunition than I think that I may need. You may notice that the standard base plates of the 10-round magazines were exchanged with base plates with pinky extensions. I'll talk about that later in the presentation. I also added a Hogue slip-on grip sleeve, just to add a bit more girth to the grip and purchase for my hand to hold the thing. Cost of having somewhat large hands holding a small grip. You may notice that this is the TS model, the one with the thumb safety, which I will talk about during the carry and concealment segment. Note as well that this one is not the carry comp version, as I really felt no need for that version. I am not going to spend any time going over the many features or maintenance of the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0, as that information has been well presented by myself and others. More importantly, I think that it is necessary to spend some quality range time with it and go over some of the things that need to be considered with a micro-compact pistol for the person who is considering one for either primary or backup carry. So, let me get to the range. Here I am, once again, at my favorite indoor gun club and range, of which I am a member. A target has been set up at an initial distance of 7 yards, and both the BG2 and I are ready to go. 4 magazines, 3 of 10-round capacity and 1 12-round capacity, have been sitting fully loaded in anticipation for this, so I am not going to hold back and just get going with today's function testing. Now, I have watched a few reviews of the BG2, and some have experienced feeding problems. No failures were experienced with my first outing with the BG2, and I am not anticipating any this go-around. But you never know, do you? Some state that the BG2 is inaccurate at long distances. Well, here's a wake-up call. It was never intended to be accurate at long distances. It is not a target pistol, but as an up-close and personal, bad breath distance, get-off-me gun, it will serve you nicely. Effectiveness, however, is lefty science and the recipient of the bullet impacts. With the Hogue grip sleeve in place, holding on to this BG2 is much better than just with the stock grip, which is excellent, by the way, and probably better suited to those with small hands. With my hand, I need all of the purchase on the handle that I can get. The magazine extension that I added, which I will talk about later, definitely helps to provide something that the pinky finger can rest upon, and provides a better surface contact with the grip. This grip also helps in keeping any support hand digits from getting too close to, or, in the case with my fingers, past the muzzle. As a side note, I do not like handguns where my middle finger would extend beyond the muzzle. As you can see, the BG2 is one of those pistols, which means I need to be very cognizant of where all my digits are when handling the pistol. The thumb safety is going to be somewhat contentious to operate, at least when placing it into the up safe position. It is stiff and will require the thumb or other digit or digits to move it into the up safe position. Placing it down to the fire position takes a bit less effort, but some effort is required nonetheless. The thumb safety paddle is small, but it is quite textured. For those who are used to operating thumb safeties, it may be second nature to do so. For those who are not thumb safety savvy, expect to take a lot of training time flipping it down. Most would opt, however, simply to have a BG2 without the thumb safety. I leave that up to you.
The reason I love this...
Magazine changes are easy to make. The magazines drop freely and lock up tightly, but it does take some force to seat the magazine in place, and you will want to keep that pinky finger away from the bottom when you do so. The magazine button can be swapped to the right side if you are left-handed. It is textured and operates smoothly. Also, many reviewers mentioned that the sights were out of alignment from the factory. On this unit, both the front and rear sight is centered. As such, I place any blame on the handler, rather than on the firearm, for shots hitting the target somewhere aside from POA, for the most part. Regarding the sights, some folks may want to swap the sights for something else, but I have found the standard orange surrounded tritium front sight adequate enough to use even for my old eyes. Note that many of other reviewers opted for a mounted optic. My version does not have that capability, nor did I desire an optic for my intentions for this pistol. While not a target pistol, BG2 and I are doing pretty good, notwithstanding the short sight radius. This is more of a point-and-shoot pistol anyway, where actual aiming the thing might be out of the question. You just need to remember to point that nice front sight in the right direction.
Nice! That was almost on the bullseye.
The striker release trip point is crisp with no over travel per se. A 5-pull, 3-pound, 6-ounce trigger pull average makes shooting easier, but the very small trigger housing negates the use of a gloved trigger finger during cold weather use. Because of the trigger reach, which is about 2 7/8 inches with the grip sleeve installed, my trigger finger is buried deep within the trigger guard, just about in the middle of the first and second joint. That gives me the best leverage on the trigger, but minimal chance of pulling the barrel off target. That, as you can see, mostly works, but sometimes does not. I never said that shooting a small micro-compact pistol comes easy for me, and I found myself experimenting with different trigger finger placements on the trigger throughout the session, with varying results. You will just have to figure out what trigger finger placement works best for you with this pistol, or any firearm, for that matter. I did notice one thing about the trigger. If you place the trigger finger high on the trigger, there is a small glitch in the trigger movement, which is caused by the trigger flapper rubbing against the frame while clearing the frame. But if you place the trigger finger so that it is at the bottom of the trigger, just touching the frame, the glitch goes away. Just a small clearance issue that will probably go away with use. Also, if you take a high thumb hold on the pistol, you may encounter slide bite, which is not uncommon when shooting a micro-compact pistol, like the BG2. I found it best to take a low shooting hand thumb hold, rather than my usual high thumb hold, as with a 1911, or even with a Glock pistol. Placing the left thumb over the right thumb helped keep that shooting hand thumb away from the slide. At the range, I found many positives with the Smith Wesson Bodyguard 2.0. Let's just say, I am very well pleased with it. The Smith Wesson Bodyguard 2.0 is one of the smallest pistols in the marketplace and can be carried virtually anywhere on the body, but most will find it very friendly to pocket carry. With that said, a good holster in which to house the pistol is essential, one that will both sufficiently protect the trigger and allow for easy retrieval of the pistol. I have come to rely on the DeSantis Nemesis holster for my micro-compact pistol carry needs, having used one to house my Glock G42 and other comparable sized pistols on many occasions. Whether I am slipping the pistol into a pants pocket, cargo pocket, or vest pocket, the Nemesis keeps everything in place and in position should I have a need for the pistol. In addition, the whole grip sleeve that I installed helps to keep the pistol stable due to the grip's rubberized material. The enhanced gripping surface also incorporates a texture which closely matches the frame of the factory appearance. They are made from high-impact polymer. They form the next logical finger positioning feature to provide comfort and control. Does not alter the capacity. And finally, it is designed to provide better comfort and control by adding a better gripping surface to the pistol. That is something large hands holding a small pistol welcome. As mentioned earlier, one further addition was to exchange the 10-round magazine floor plates with ones that have a pinky extension. The pinky extension just adds a bit of a hook point for indexing the pistol as it is drawn from the holster from wherever it is carried, in addition to just adding a skosh of length for the pinky finger to rest against, but does not add any appreciable length to the butt of the pistol. With everything behind me at this point, let me get to my final impression of the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0. There are many of you who like the 380 auto cartridge, and also like the Walther PPKS, the Ruger LCP Max, the Glock G42, the Sig Sauer P365 and its variants, or perhaps the Versa Firestorm 380, or possibly a Rock Island Armory Baby Rock as a carry companion. Of course, there are other folks, and there seem to be many, who like the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0, and it has achieved its share of acclaim, and also controversy over some of its foibles, and sometimes its failures. We find things like, it's not accurate at long distances, the sights are out of alignment from the factory, the slide bites the hand when shooting, frequent malfunctions with certain ammunition, the thumb safety is difficult to manipulate, quality control is lacking from the manufacturer, and the list goes on. What I can say is that I don't disagree with any of it. There are obviously valid complaints from actual users of this pistol. The Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0 is not a beginner's firearm. It is also not a pistol that I would recommend for those with weak or compromised hand strength, as the slide is difficult to manipulate due to the heavy captivated dual recoil spring. An issue that this one has is that it's difficult to remove the slide from the frame and install the slide during reassembly. It is binding at some point. With the barrel and recoil spring assembly not in the slide, there is no problem either removing or installing the slide, and it operates smoothly throughout its cycle. But install the barrel and recoil spring assembly, and the binding occurs with enough binding that it takes an unmeasurable amount of force to move the slide rearward. However, once past this point of binding, the slide operates as it would normally. From what I can tell, the barrel is binding against the locking block leading edge upon assembling the slide to the frame, but that would not explain why the slide is binding when being removed from the frame. It may be a tolerance issue that just may clear itself after plenty of use. That remains to be seen. While a mild annoyance right now, the pistol may be returned to Smith & Wesson for rectification of the issue. After all, the pistol needs to be 1001% operational in all areas. Don't you agree? The bottom line question is if the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0 is a viable carry option. For many, it seems to be, but for others, maybe not so much. Granted that the pistol is very compact, to the point of being petite, it shoots pretty well, is light in weight, and is very easy to conceal. Some might find the previously mentioned micro-compact pistols, that includes the Springfield Armory Hellcat 380, which I forgot to mention, as more favorable options. As my usual, I tell folks to do the research, handle and shoot, if possible, as many as you can before you decide upon which one is right for you, because obviously, I am not you. As for me, the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0 is a viable carry option, and it will continue to be carried at my whim and whimsy when I feel I may need a good pistol as a backup to my primary carry, or as a primary carry when I need deep concealment. But note that this is not the only micro-compact pistol in the family, and others may be carried at any given time. Well, there you have it, my latest addition to this Journal of Firearms Journeys, the Range Ronin Chronicles. I hope that you found the presentation useful, and will decide to return for more of my firearm and firearm-related reviews. Until we meet again, and I hope that to be soon, take care of yourself, be vigilant, be armed, and be safe, wherever your journeys take you.